Hello, this is JBigTicket23 from GreenPCGamers.com, and in this video we are going to do some benchmarks on an EVGA NVIDIA GTX1050 Ti graphics card. And the reason why we're using this card, as you can see from this configuration that we're using it with, is that we have a very low wattage power supply. It's not even 300 watts, so it does not have the auxiliary power to support the higher end graphics cards. So basically what we're going to do is I'm loaded into a game called Tom Clancy's The Division, and they have a nice little benchmark test built into it. So the first test that I'm going to run is basically using NVIDIA's optimized configuration for what they say my rig can run. So, and you can go back and pause and look at the configuration. Basically, this game is very heavy on GPU and CPU. And like I said, we're using a GTX1050 Ti graphics card. So we're going to load into it. We're going to run the test on low once, which is basically the optimized configuration. And then we'll go ahead and we'll run it again on medium and see where we run, or to see where we're at. So if you can see it in the top left corner, it's going to tell us our current frames. It's kind of hard to see because it's very small, but at the end it's going to give us a nice little chart on average FPS and how much processing power we've used. So again, the reason why we're using this card is because we're limited with our power supply wattage. So if we had a higher end power supply that was running, ideally 650, 750 watt, we'd go with a more expensive GTX card and be able to get higher frame rates. But this card, I mean, if you do have a low wattage power supply and you don't have the means to upgrade it, this card could work really well for you. This particular card, it's the 1050 Ti. We got it for about $200 on Newegg.com. And then we also are running an NVMe drive, which won't really do anything for as far as performance goes other than loading into the game faster. So as you can see, I mean, this is not going to give you like brilliant colors and brilliant graphics, but it'll definitely be playable. So we're almost to the end of this first benchmark test. And let's see where we end up. Again, we ran everything on low settings. We did uncap the frame rate. We put it at 135 just to see. So we got 60 frames. Average is decent. Average GPU 67%. Average CPU 40%. So it's not bad. It's definitely a usable card. So now let's go in and change the settings to medium and see how that goes. We'll uncap the frame rate. Now to do this, we're running a 144 Hz monitor, which allows us to uncap that frame rate. Alright, so let's load back in and see how it goes to medium. To create good gameplay, in my world, or at least what I like to see, is 60 frames or higher. Ideally, it'd be nice to see 100 frames, but not everybody's going to be able to afford a graphics card that can do that. So, like I said, the GTX 1050 Ti is definitely a decent card. You're just going to have to tweak your frame rates. And this game uses quite a bit of GPU and CPU. So, if you're playing games like Fortnite or you're playing other games that don't use quite as many resources, you're going to see higher frames. In Fortnite, I mean, if you tweak the settings, you could easily be above 150 frames running a 1050 Ti. Other games like Dota 2, you'll see higher frame rates as well because they're not quite as intense as this game is. So, I mean, we're not doing too much worse on medium settings. I mean, we're hovering still right around 60 frames. Right now dropping in the 50 frames, which is, it is what it is when it comes to this particular card and the amount of wattage we have in our power supply. Our CPU is actually pretty nice. It's an i7 6700. It's not the K model, but with max turbo frequency, it's going to run right around 4 gigahertz if it needs to. So I expect this particular test on medium to use quite a bit more GPU. I'm not sure about CPU. Well, I guess we'll see here at the end. So we'll let this benchmark test end and see where we sit. And the results. Okay, so we are at, wow, we only about 3 frames going on medium, but look how much more GPU we use. We use 96% of the GPU, so that was much more intense as far as the GPU goes. 44% CPU, not much more than running low settings. So overall, I'd probably stick with low settings just to get a little bit higher frames. But I mean, a decent card for the amount of money you spend, and if you're stuck with a low wattage power supply, I mean, it is what it is. That's probably one of the best cards you can get without needing the auxiliary power adapter to actually use it. So thank you so much for watching this video. Visit www.GreenPCGamers.com for additional content. If you have additional questions, I game most nights around 9 o'clock Central Time on Twitch. Follow me, JBigTick23. Also, please check out GreenPCGamers.com for additional content. Go to the blog. We show how to basically convert engineering workstations into gaming PCs. So thanks a lot for watching. Please subscribe to the channel.